Welcome to the Power Book of Podcasts. Unlock your potential with powerful book summaries that inspire personal growth and broaden your understanding of the world. Each week, we explore life-changing ideas, from leadership to mindset strategies to keys for happiness and success. Learn actionable insights to apply in your daily life. Join our growing community of thinkers and seekers. Like, comment, and hit that subscribe button now. It's time to supercharge your mind with the Power Book of Podcasts.
All right, so looks like we're going deep into the future of humanity today.
Yeah.
With these selections from Yuval Noah Harari's Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow, tackling some pretty big questions.
Definitely.
Are we on the verge of immortality? Can happiness be engineered? What happens when artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence? And how do our feelings even factor into a data-driven world?
Big questions.
Big questions. Let's break it all down.
Yeah, it's interesting, how Harari uses these really diverse examples, like comparing ancient plagues to modern lawns,
Right.
to paint a picture of where we might be headed.
It's not just about predicting the future.
Right.
It's about understanding the forces that shape our choices and our values today. And speaking of choices, one of the first things that jumped out at me was Harari's argument that we're actually winning the battle against some age-old enemies of humankind.
Yeah, you're talking about famine, plague, and war. It's a surprising win, especially when you consider the devastating impact these forces have had on human history.
Yeah.
Harari reminds us that the Black Death, while horrific, wasn't even the worst plague.
Right.
When European diseases reached America and the Pacific Islands, they wiped out up to 90% of the native populations.
It's hard to even fathom that level of devastation.
Yeah.
But he argues that we're in a different position now, thanks to advancements in medicine and a shift from material-based to knowledge-based economies.
Huge shift.
Huge shift.
Means we're less vulnerable to those natural threats that ravaged populations in the past.
So does this mean we're home free?
Well,
Not exactly.
not exactly.
Because now Harari says the biggest threat comes from ourselves.
Yeah, ourselves.
Bioengineered diseases, AI gone rogue, and even just our own destructive tendencies. It seems like the more control we gain over the external world, the more our inner nature becomes the biggest risk factor.
He calls it the paradox of progress. We solve one set of problems only to create a new set of challenges,
Yeah.
often driven by the very solutions we've come up with.
And he illustrates this point with a really striking example. Did you know that statistically, sugar is now more dangerous than gunpowder?
Wow.
In 2012, diabetes killed 1.5 million people worldwide, while war caused 500,000 deaths.
It's,
That's a pretty stark comparison.
yeah.
It really makes you think about the unintended consequences of our actions.
It raises questions about individual responsibility versus systemic factors.
Right.
We've created this abundance of food, but our bodies and our environments haven't necessarily caught up.
Right. It's not just about personal choices. It's about the larger systems that shape our access to food and information about nutrition.
Exactly.
Which I guess leads us to this next big theme. Harari explores the pursuit of immortality and happiness. You're interested in the quest for immortality, right? Well, Harari challenges the assumption that we're actually extending our natural lifespan.
Yeah, people often think modern medicine has dramatically increased how long we live.
Right.
But Harari points out that individuals like Galileo and Michelangelo lived well into their 70s and 80s without antibiotics or organ transplants.
Wow.
Even chimpanzees in the jungle can live into their 60s.
Okay.
It seems our natural lifespan might be more fixed than we think.
So are all these efforts to extend life just chasing a fantasy?
No.
If we do have a natural lifespan, where does that leave us?
That's where Harari's exploration of happiness comes in.
Okay.
He delves into the philosophy of it all, contrasting Bentham's utilitarian ideals of maximizing pleasure with Buddha's teachings about the fleeting nature of sensations.
So on the one hand, you have this idea of go for all the good feelings. And on the other, you have this recognition that pleasure is temporary and clinging to it can actually lead to suffering.
It makes you really consider what a good life truly means.
Yeah.
Is it about racking up as many pleasurable experiences as possible?
Right.
Or is there something more to it?
It's a question a lot of us grapple with, especially as we face these new possibilities for extending life and manipulating our experiences. Yeah. But before we get too deep into those possibilities, Harari throws us a curveball with his argument that the self, the very thing we think of as experiencing life, might be an illusion.
It's a challenging concept.
Yeah.
He uses the example of Clutter Hans.
Oh, yeah.
The the horse who seemed to solve math problems but was actually just picking up on subtle cues from his human handler.
I remember that story.
Yeah.
It really highlights how our perceptions can be manipulated and how we tend to project our own assumptions onto the world around us.
Exactly. Harari suggests that we might not be these unique individual selves, but rather individuals' collections of algorithms shaped by our genes and our environment.
Hold on, individuals. What exactly does he mean by that?
It's the idea that we're not these indivisible units, but rather divisible, composed of various influences and processes, both biological and environmental. Like a mosaic, we're made up of many smaller pieces that come together to create the picture of who we are.
So you're saying we're like walking, talking algorithms?
In a way.
That's a pretty mind-bending concept.
It is.
And I guess that leads us into his discussion of the mind-reading helmet being developed by the U.S. Army, right?
Yes. He brings that up as an example of how technology can be used to influence our thoughts and actions, even potentially diminishing our sense of free will.
Wow.
Imagine a helmet that could boost your focus, but also potentially suppress empathy or inner conflict.
That sounds both incredible and a little terrifying.
It is.
It makes you wonder where the line is between enhancing our abilities and losing something essential about our humanity.
It's a question we'll need to grapple with as technology continues to advance.
Yeah.
And it's a question that leads us directly into the next major theme in Homo Deus, the rise of dataism and its implications.
Okay, dataism.
Dataism.
Okay, so we've gone from conquering plague and famine to potentially engineering our own happiness and questioning the very nature of the self.
Right.
And now we're diving into dataism.
Dataism is this idea that information flow is the most important thing.
Okay.
Almost like a new kind of religion where data is sacred.
Okay.
Harari argues that it could become the dominant force in the 21st century, even surpassing traditional religions and ideologies.
So instead of worshiping gods or money, we'll be worshiping information.
It might sound strange, but we're already seeing hints of this in how much we rely on data in our daily lives. Right. Every click, every purchase, every interaction online is all being tracked and analyzed.
Yeah.
And that data is being used to shape our choices, from the products we buy to the news we read.
It's true. I feel like I'm constantly generating data, leaving a digital trail wherever I go.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder who owns all that information and what they're doing with it.
That's one of the big concerns with dataism. The potential for misuse of data is huge, especially as we move towards what Harari calls the Internet of all things.
The Internet of all things. What's that all about?
Imagine a world where everything is connected to the Internet.
Okay.
Your refrigerator, your car, your clothing, even your body.
Everything.
It's a world of constant data flow where everything is being monitored and analyzed in real time.
So basically that sci-fi movie scenario where you walk into a room and the lights automatically adjust to your mood, the music changes to your taste, and your coffee starts brewing?
Exactly. But while that might sound convenient, it also raises some serious questions about privacy and security.
Right.
Who has access to all that data? What if it falls into the wrong hands? Could someone hack your refrigerator and hold your groceries hostage?
Okay, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration.
Yeah.
But I see your point. If everything is connected, the potential for things to go wrong increases exponentially.
Right.
And not just in terms of security breaches, but also in terms of manipulation.
That's right. Harari talks about the potential for personalized propaganda. Okay.
Where data is used to create targeted messages that play on our individual fears and desires. Imagine a world where the algorithms know you better than you know yourself and use that information to influence your thoughts and actions.
That's kind of terrifying. It's like we're losing control of our own minds, becoming puppets in a digital game we don't fully understand.
It's a real concern, and it's why Harari emphasizes the importance of critical thinking in this data-driven world. We need to be able to distinguish between reliable information and misinformation.
Right.
To question our assumptions and to think for ourselves.
It sounds like we need to become more discerning consumers of information, not just passively absorbing everything that's thrown at us.
Yeah.
It's not just about what we eat anymore. It's about what we allow into our minds.
Exactly. And that leads to another thought-provoking idea Harari presents.
Okay.
The possibility that algorithms might actually be better at certain things than humans.
Yeah.
Even things like voting or appreciating art. Wait, algorithms voting for us and judging art. That's crazy. How can an algorithm understand the nuances of human experience and expression?
It's a bold claim, but Harari argues that algorithms can process vast amounts of data and identify patterns that are beyond human capacity.
Okay.
Think about how streaming services recommend music based on your listening history.
Right.
They're using algorithms to predict what you'll enjoy, and often they get it right.
Okay, I can see how that works for music recommendations.
Yeah.
But voting and art feel different. They're about values, emotions, intuition, things that seem uniquely human.
That's the heart of the debate.
Yeah.
Are we just biological machines driven by algorithms? Or is there something more to us, something that can't be quantified or reduced to data points?
If we take the data's perspective, it seems like the logical conclusion is that eventually algorithms will make better decisions than we can in almost every area of life.
And that raises some big questions about what it means to be human. If we hand over all the decision-making to machines, what role will we play in the future?
Will we become irrelevant? Just passive observers letting algorithms run the show.
That's a possibility Harari explores.
Okay.
But he also presents another scenario.
Right.
The possibility that humans will merge with technology becoming something entirely new.
Now we're really getting into science fiction territory.
Yep.
Humans merging with machines. What would that even look like?
Harari talks about the potential for genetic engineering, nanotechnology, and brain-computer interfaces to enhance our physical and cognitive abilities.
Wow.
Imagine a future where humans could live for centuries, have superhuman strength and intelligence, and even merge their consciousness with artificial intelligence.
It's mind-blowing, but also a little scary.
Yeah.
What about the ethical implications? It seems like there's a lot of potential for things to go wrong.
There are definitely ethical concerns. Harari talks about the potential for inequality where only the wealthy and powerful have access to these enhancements.
Right.
He also raises questions about what it means to be human in a world where the boundaries between biology and technology are blurred.
If we start fundamentally altering our bodies and minds, are we still the same species? Will we even recognize ourselves anymore?
These are profound questions, and Harari doesn't pretend to have all the answers.
Yeah.
He's more interested in prompting us to think critically about the choices we face and the kind of future we want to create.
It's a lot to take in, and I have to admit it's a little overwhelming to think about all the possibilities, both positive and negative.
It is a lot to process, but Harari's point is that the future isn't predetermined.
Okay.
It's a canvas waiting to be painted, and we all have a role to play in shaping it.
So what can we do? How can we navigate this uncharted territory and make sure we're heading towards a future that benefits all of humanity?
Harari emphasizes the power of stories.
Okay.
He argues that we live in a world of imagined realities. Money, nations, corporations, things that exist only because we collectively believe in them.
It's like a shared delusion, but one that allows us to cooperate and build complex societies.
Right.
Money's a perfect example.
Yeah.
It's just pieces of paper or digital bits.
Yeah.
But it has immense power because we've all agreed that it has value.
Exactly. And Harari suggests that these stories can change.
Okay.
If we want to create a different future, we need to tell ourselves different stories.
Different stories about that.
Stories that emphasize cooperation, compassion, and sustainability rather than competition, greed, and exploitation.
Okay. I like that it's about shifting our narratives, about imagining a future where technology is used to enhance our humanity, not diminish it.
It's about recognizing that we have a choice in how we use technology and that the future is not something that happens to us, it's something we create.
But are we up to the challenge? Can we overcome our own limitations and make choices that benefit the collective good
Yeah.
rather than just our own self-interest?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it leads us back to dataism.
Okay, dataism, again, we've talked about its potential benefits and risks.
Right.
But what does it actually mean for us as individuals? How does it relate to this idea of shaping the future?
Well, Harari suggests that dataism might offer a new way of thinking about ourselves and our place in the universe.
Okay.
Instead of seeing ourselves as separate individuals, we could start to see ourselves as part of a larger interconnected system, a flow of data that's constantly expanding and evolving.
But we're all just nodes in a giant network. Data points in a cosmic algorithm.
It's a radical idea, but it's one that Harari takes seriously.
Yeah.
He argues that dataism could lead to a new kind of spirituality, one based on connection flow and the pursuit of knowledge.
A spirituality based on data. It sounds like a paradox.
It does, but maybe it's not as strange as it seems.
All right.
After all, many traditional religions are also about connecting to something larger than ourselves, whether it's a god, a community, or the natural world.
Right.
Dataism could be seen as a modern expression of that same impulse.
Okay.
But instead of looking to the heavens or to ancient texts, it's looking to the flow of information that connects us all.
It's a fascinating concept. but I have to admit I'm still grappling with it. It's hard to imagine giving up the idea of individual selfhood, even if it's for the sake of some larger cosmic purpose.
It is a big leap, and Harari doesn't say that everyone will embrace datism.
Right.
He simply presents it as a potential path for humanity in the 21st century.
Okay, so we've explored the potential for algorithms to surpass human intelligence, the possibility of merging with machines, and now this idea of dataism as a new form of spirituality. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is, but that's what makes Harari's work so compelling. He's not just predicting the future, he's prompting us to think deeply about the choices we face and the kind of world we want to create.
It's not just about what's going to happen, it's about what we want to happen and what role we're willing to play in shaping that future. We've covered a lot of ground here, from the potential for immortality to the rise of datism.
It's a lot.
It seems like humanity is standing at a crossroads, facing some pretty profound choices about the future.
Yeah, Harari definitely presents a lot to ponder. One thing that keeps coming back to me is his comparison of our current situation to the agricultural revolution.
Okay, how so?
Well, he argues that just like humans domesticated plants and animals during the agricultural revolution, reshaping the world in the process, we're now on the verge of domesticating algorithms and artificial intelligence.
So we're trading in farms for data centers and crops for code. It makes you wonder what the unintended consequences of this new revolution might be. We're still dealing with the fallout from the first one, environmental degradation, social inequality, and a whole host of health problems related to our modern diet.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from those potential consequences, but he also suggests that just as the agricultural revolution led to incredible advancements, this technological revolution could offer solutions to some of humanity's biggest challenges.
Like climate change, for example.
Exactly. He points out that datism could help us monitor environmental conditions in real time, identify patterns, and make predictions that could help us mitigate the effects of climate change. It could also lead to breakthroughs in medicine, energy production, and countless other fields.
That all sounds promising, but it's hard to ignore the potential downsides, the risks of surveillance manipulation, and the concentration of power in the hands of those who control the data.
Those are valid concerns, and it's why Harari stresses the importance of having these conversations about the ethical implications of technology. We need to be thinking about how to ensure that these advancements are used for good and that the benefits are shared equitably.
It feels like we're on the cusp of something truly transformative, but also potentially very dangerous. It reminds me of that quote from Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb. "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
It's a sobering thought, but just as the development of nuclear weapons led to a new era of international cooperation and arms control, hopefully this technological revolution will also lead to a new era of ethical reflection and responsible innovation.
So where does that leave us, the non-superhumans living in the present? What can we do to prepare for this future that Harari lays out?
I think the key is to be aware, to be engaged, and to be willing to challenge our own assumptions. We need to stay informed about the latest developments in technology and their potential impact on society.
But it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer pace of change. What concrete steps can we take to make a difference?
One thing we can do is support organizations that are working to ensure that technology is developed and used ethically. There are groups focused on data privacy, artificial intelligence safety, and the responsible development of emerging technologies.
So we can vote with our dollars and our voices to support the kind of future we want to see.
Exactly. And we can also start having these conversations with our friends, families, and communities, that the more we talk about these issues, the more likely we are to find solutions that benefit everyone.
Harari emphasizes the power of stories in shaping our reality if we want to create a different future. Maybe we need to start telling ourselves different stories about technology, stories that focus on its potential for good, rather than just its potential for harm.
I like that we need to move beyond the dystopian narratives that dominate so much of science fiction and start imagining a future where technology is used to enhance our humanity, not diminish it.
It's a tall order, but maybe that's the challenge of our time. We're the ones writing the next chapter of human history, and it's up to us to decide what kind of story we want to tell.
And remember, the future isn't set in stone. It's a fluid, evolving thing that we're constantly shaping with our choices and actions. The more informed and engaged we are, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
This deep dive has given us a lot to think about, and I hope it sparks some curiosity for you, our listener. We encourage you to explore these ideas further, to read Harari's work, and to engage in these crucial conversations about the future of humanity.
The choices we make today will determine the world we live in tomorrow, so let's choose wisely.